library. I'm always playing with new libraries. You'd think that was my job or something like that. Anyway, hello. My name is John Skippy Limcool. Hands together, head bowed. You are most welcome here. Hi, how you doing? Hey, so this is a new library we've just released called ChillyPop Phrases Volume 1. This is a library I created in collaboration with a sample team from Europe called Sample God. And they did the guitar phrases for the first library that I released last year called Chill Guitar Phrases. And this is ChillyPop Phrases. So this has a little bit more. Instead of just guitar, it now has voice. And I think 2 different guitars in there. Now the drums. That's a drum kit that comes with this library. Comes with 55 drum grooves, and they're all listed right here, as you can see. Here's the basses, and then down here are the phrases. And as you can see, they're in 6 different tempos. So I'm at 85 beats per minute. If I go like this loads up a menu which has all of the samples across all of the keys. So starting with low C, 4 major phrases. Each note is a different phrase. And they're more complex. You know, trap is typically going to sit on just a couple chords. These have actual intelligent chord progressions. Beautiful stuff. Some are trappy, like this one. You could just go crazy with that for a cool phrase. So I'm not going to play all of them. If you want, you can go over here to my website, pluginguru.com. And if you go to the ChillyPop, actually, if you go over here, you can see ChillyPop is here at the beginning of the list. If you click this, it goes to the ChillyPop page. There's demo songs, and the second demo song, ChillyPop 54 Phrases with Drum Groove, that is the ability to listen to every single one of the 54 phrases. It's like a 10-minute long demo song. So that will go through and play all of the phrases so you can hear them. I'm not going to do it right now in the video because that's 10 minutes of your life sitting there listening to me go. And going to the next one. I mean, do you really want me to do that? Oh. That's just, I can't wait to hear what someone does with this. I hear all sorts of stuff in my head. I mean, I can't rap, but I've got the spirit, right? So. Now, there's a whole lot of different ways to use these. And so I'm going to try to cover showing you some suggestions, how I designed the library. It's very modular. Do you like that? Modular. So that you can use components together pretty easily to accomplish some pretty startling results. Okay. So to start with, as you can see, you can go through, you can play each note to play the phrases to hear them. I would suggest actually using these, the BPM phrase jams, because here you play low C. It starts a drum groove, it's on layer 2. And then layer 1 is the phrase, right? And if you go to the knobs, page 1, number 8, will let you cycle to all 54. So you can hear them all. And actually up here in what we call our variation window, you can see the chord progression. And then right above C, from C sharp to B, are basses. So I could play a bass. Bringing my drums. Right? So you can hear all of the phrases, go through them, see the chord progression, and before you even play a note on the keyboard, you know what it's going to be. This G minor. Now, as you can see from this phrase, it has bass in it. Some have bass. Now, the other thing that's interesting with this is that I have a little V at the end of the names. That means there are variations to this. It's not just one groove. As you go through the list, it goes from the beginning. The early ones actually have like 8 variations. If you look down here at the phrase sets, the first ones have 8 variations, and phrase number 5 has 7 variations. A whole bunch have 5, 4, quite a few have 3, some have 2. So 9 of the 54 have just the loop phrase that you're going to hear. So as you get to the end of the list, these guys, the little V goes away from the chord progression name because there's no variations. But any of these that say V, if you want, let's say that we like, I love this one too. Let's spin the groove, drum groove knob. Now, this has a V behind the name of it, right? So this right hand, it's limited right here, starting at C3 on the keyboard. I designed these phrases so that you can call up the phrase set, and it starts at C3 for those phrase sets, which means that it can pop right into this. So all you have to do is go to layer 4 and double click where it says Unify. And this will open up a separate Unify inside of Unify. I love how we could do this. And here's your phrase sets. And scroll down here. We want to play with number 22, and we're at 85 beats per minute. So we go down here to the 85 beat per minute, 22 groove set, and there's 3 variations. There's the combination of the 2. Then there's also just that like really cool I don't know what that is. Oh, so let's do this. I'm gonna go up here and mute layer 1. So just have the drum groove. And then the third variation, just that cool melody. I love that. So these phrases are just begging for all sorts of really cool songs to be built around them. It's really, really, really cool stuff. So ways to use, so the components of this library, the main big, huge part of it are all of these phrases. Unify doesn't have the ability with audio that's like loops and phrases like this to change tempo automatically. That's why you see these at 85 and then 100. And I actually spit out the samples at these different tempos. So if I want to use phrase 22 and I want to be at a different tempo, let's go to like phrase 22. This is at 110 beats per minute. So I have to change my DAW to be 110 beats per minute. Turn on the drum groove so it's there to play. And right? It's the same phrase as down here at 85 beats per minute, but sped up. But for us, it has to be separate audio files, which means hard drive space, which means this is a fairly large library because all of these separate phrases that are 4 measures long each, they take up a lot of time. It adds up to be a lot of sample data. So it's like 10 minutes to play every one of the 54 phrases at 100 beats per minute. So it's a lot of content to work through. On top of this, the entire library is available in WAV format, included when you buy the library. So when you first get this library, let me show you how this works. You would download and unzip the ChillyPop folder. And when you open this up, you're going to have 3 separate downloads, right? You're going to have install zip 1, 2, and 3. You will have your ChillyPop phrases 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. And all you have to do is take each one, drag it over the interface of Unify, say OK. And I've already installed it, so I'm not going to do it again. And install. And when you get to the third one, it's going to pop up to ask for your license number because this is a protected library. Yay, thank God, my work is protected. So it will ask for your license number, which is sent by email. If you don't know your license number, you can go to the pluginguru.com website, click log in with your email address and password that you've set up. And on your My Account page, it will give you links to download these files. If you scroll down to receipts, you can see your license number. Down here at the bottom of the list is ChillyPop Wave. That's number 4, the 4th file you can download if you want. And this has all of the samples of each one of these sets, all of these variations for all of the phrases as WAV files. So you can pop them right into your DAW or whatever you want to put them and manipulate, play, do anything you want. As far as to usage, when you buy a license for this library, you are free to use these samples in any way that you want. They're hopefully not totally naked by themselves because you should put a little bit of work and elbow grease into them. But even if you did, I'm not going to stop that and say, no, that's not good. Just let me know where you used it so we can say, hey, check out this cool film where they use these phrases and stuff like that. That'd be cool to know. I appreciate that. But anyway, you have them available in all 6 tempos as WAV files to work with as well. And if you open up one of these, you'll notice it's 12 samples for each one of these. It's not just a single sample. So they sound good everywhere. If you go to the real-time knobs, you can see that you have parameters to change like the sample start. So if you don't want that shiffy attack, you got distortion. If you want to play short like a normal bass, if you want to ring out like an 808, add reverb. You can change them in lots of really cool ways. Now, next to each one of the basses is a B2 version, because like I showed you, those phrase sets, they start at C3. So because these stop at B2, I'm at 110 beats per minute, so I could go to the 110 beat per minute grooves. I could choose any of these. If I set this to Unify layer, clicking this will simply load this with the bass. So play. And to make it even cooler, go to the drums, BPM drum patches. And since this is set to Unify layer, just choose any one of these. Let's say So Alive and and if you want, you could open up any of these layers, say that's not the right groove. Play with them that way to have just like that, just by loading the drums, bass, and one of the phrase sets. They're designed, like I said, modular to work together so you can play the phrase, and the bass with the left-hand bass patch that you called up. So it works really easy. I made one example of what this is like when you do this, and that is the BPM split right here, multi-phrase jam. This is showing that I used 85 beats per minute, so I got to change my DAW. If you're inside of Unify's standalone, it will change tempo for you. If you're in your DAW, it's not going to change tempo automatically. It's going to be whatever your DAW tempo is. So you want to adjust the tempo of your DAW, whatever you're using. But now, right? Now, you can make these yourself so easy, just opening any of these layers. This is the phrase set. So you just open up the phrase set and choose any of the other 85 beat per minute phrase sets. And right here, it will tell you the chord progression in the comment section. So I can see that off you go, right? It's just so much fun. On top of this, there's some keys, there's some leads, there's some pads, there's some bells, little additional patches that you will find when you go to the BPM split patches right here. These will call up, let's say if we go to 100 beats per minute, change our DAW to also be 100 beats per minute. With these, you play low C to start the groove and the phrase, right? And then you have the bass. Play the right chords. And then starting at C3 up, you have what is called the key synth right hand. And so starting at C3 up, you have synth/key right hand layer. Double click this Unify and you could choose another bell or the pads, like even like the shiny octave brass. See, we're in E flat minor, so. Minor. But major. So you can play with these in all sorts of fun, creative ways. Finding alternative chords to the phrases is part of the fun of having these to work with. Again, it's really easy to change out any of the components that you want. If you come up with something that you like, hit the save button and give it a new name. You can save it to the same library folder if you want, start a new library folder, or save it to the user library that exists to save patches into. It's all right there for you to use. Okay, so the second half of this walkthrough, after showing you the layout, I want to use one of these in my DAW, and I'm going to sequence up, and I'm going to show you how you can use the real-time automation of the knobs, because each one of these, if I call this up, there's knobs for all sorts of controls. There's 31 knob assignments. I think only the fourth one on page 2 is not assigned, right? So there is a ton of control to play with. So if we play with this just for a second, let me show you the layout. The first page of knobs is for altering the phrase. So you have filter cutoff, and I have minus, which means as you bring the positive value of the knob up, it gets darker. Mod wheel is a high pass filter. Right? Pump house, which is right here. If you want to change that, you can change it. LFO pulse gives you a 16th note pulse, which if you open up through a sampler, change it by itself right there as well. Distortion and reverb. I could turn down the phrase, keep the drums up. Over here are your bass controls. So you've got sample start. Some of the basses have more of the really, really pitch EG attack. You can skip it altogether by using the sample start. Filter controls. Distortion. And this filter is after the distortion. So you can filter the distortion and then filter the whole sound with a separate filter. They just have a small percentage of this in there. And then release. If you want it to be more like a static bass, right? Right, okay. Then the drums are on pages 3 and 4. 2 pages of controls for the knobs. Reverb, high pass filter, gets rid of the low end, but it keeps the kick in there. It didn't take it out. You hear it there. It's just, there's no bottom to it. Low pass filter. If you want lo-fi vibe, just bring down the low pass filter. But the filter on the drums doesn't touch the filter on the bass because they're all separate filters all over the place to play with things. Then you have tape effects, which is the mix for the Chow tape model. So you could go over here, degrade, turn this on. Bring up the envelope if you don't want it to be there all the time. You can make it just horribly disgusting if you want just a little bit. And again, this is a mix. There it is, nice and snappy and happy. Add just a little bit of schmutz. Kit pitch. Transposes the whole drum kit. Decay. This is especially helpful if you take the pitch down of the drums. This will tighten it back up. Right? And then sloppy is controlling a jitter box on the drums, which will make it super sloppy if you have it at max. It randomizes the timing of the notes. Just a little bit makes it human. And then velocity is to the MIDI box playing the pattern. Soft velocity. Everybody getting max velocity. And I programmed the drum patterns with the drums, the kicks and snares at maximum velocities and the hi-hats really low. So you have control in this middle range to control how much you want the hi-hats to pop up in the mix. A lot of times you want them to be kind of back in the mix, but the kick and snare haven't dropped that much because their velocities were so high compared to the hi-hats. So you can play with this to get the different vibes if you want. Page 4 has another 7 knobs. Drum multiply. It's a double timer and actually goes up to 4 times. And go away, please. So you can get glitchy stuff. Halftime. Now, low note and high note control MIDI box for the actual note filter. So if I bring up low note, I've gotten rid of the notes that play the kick drum. Because if you remember, if you look at the drum kit map, I haven't shown you this. Drum kit map, go like this so you can see it. There's a whole bunch of kicks to start. Then there's snares. And then hi-hats. There's a tambourine or two, and then a shaker, and then crashes. So this way, that filter, when I bring up the low note, it's going like this. And when it gets to where it's no longer in the range of the kicks, the kick drum pattern stops playing because it's been filtered out. And as you keep going up higher, you're going to get rid of the snare, and then eventually all the hi-hats. So if you go back to this, we're at 100 beats per minute, so we want to be right here. If I play the pattern again, let's have page 2, get rid of the phrase melody again. When I bring up the low note, I've gotten it past the range where that kick drum note was at, so it doesn't play the kick drum. If I go up higher, that's just the clap, so I got rid of the snare. Now this actual clap is gone too. So you can look at the value of what these are and then program exactly in your sequencer what that range is to go to immediately have it happen. You know, right here I'm just kind of like searching around. But in your sequencer, you can be exact and say, I want you to be sending CC, I don't have these set up to control values, but automation values, you can set to the value you want. Now, if you take the high note and bring this down, it gets rid of the hi-hat part, but it keeps the kick and the snare. So you can use these two in conjunction to bring in breakdowns. Okay, drum distortion, just like the bass, we got cool distortion with filter cutoff. And again, it's cool just to put a little bit of that into the mix without it. Add a little bit in there. And then that reverb, the same reverb knob that's on 3, I also put on 4 at the end. So you could use that if you wanted to, right? So you have these 31 controls to modify the sounds anywhere you want. So if we go to our sequencer, hello Logic, let's make this nice and small. When I use this in a DAW, I want to turn off the latch feature. That means that when I play a note for this groove, it's gonna stay on as long as the note is played. When I take my hand off the note, it's gonna stop playing. And then I'm over here on this sequencer track right here. All right, so let's reset this. Don't forget to turn off latch if you do a reset, and then hit sequencer record. Let's just record the phrase by itself. If you want to play a few stuttery notes, do stuff like that. I made a boo-boo, played a bass note. I can fix that. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm not going to do a whole song, but this would be enough to show you what's going on. So we'll do just 16 measures. Okay, so I need to quickly have a moment to look at my note that I played. And let's shrink this over here, and somewhere along the way, we'll see my bass note that I didn't want in there. Let's select all the notes and quantize them to 100% so that it's just gonna play that I want. Now, let's play it. Here, let me clean this up a little bit. I was doing drum groove programming earlier. Okay, so I cleaned up all the extra drum programming groove stuff so that we don't have that in the way to work with, right? Now, all you have to do in this sequencer is set this to latch. And now anything I touch of these knobs is going to be recorded into Logic when I play it back. So let's go over here. Let's have it start. And maybe the first thing I want to do is have a little reverb splash, play with the drums for a minute. Maybe I want to do a halftime. Bring up the low note. And then I bring up the distortion at the very end, okay? Now, when I take and I go back to the beginning and play this, here's the reverb splash. Now I can go to the multiply page. And if I want, I can go into my DAW and hit the automation button and hold down Option when you click the little triangle in Logic, and it will show you all of the lanes of recorded automation that I did. And so if I wanted to, I could put a little ditty with the drums like this. If I want. Maybe I don't want that because we're starting the song at the beginning. You don't want to go crazy at the beginning. That's something to add a little bit later. But you see how it shows you everything that you recorded. And so I can now go to the next part. It might be a good idea to like make separate tracks that are the same. And under track other, you can say new track with same instrument. And you have a key command you can use to do this. So it's, for me, it's these two keys. So I can just push a couple of these, and now I have one for the bass, so I could. Right? So you get the idea of how easy it is to build. Go to the next layer. Maybe I want a different sound than this one. So if I double click this Unify, I have access to every library and every patch. If I go to Spitfire Labs, let's go down here to the strings. And let's say I want to have like maybe the string swells, which is really pretty. So I just click that and I'm playing Spitfire Labs for my right-hand sound instead of the sound that I set up. And let's take it down an octave so that if I want, I could get some of the cellos and other instrumentation. Right? Maybe I want reverb. Maybe I don't want to use the reverb inside of Unify. I want to go down to Valhalla and use something really pretty. So I could go Valhalla. I could say room. I could use any reverb plugin inside of Unify that I have. Control the mix. Okay. And maybe I need a little EQ because I want the strings to stick out a little bit. So go to Unify, the Flex EQ. Let's bring up the high end. I'm just going to do this really fast. Right, and there's pretty. And so now all I need to do is record another pass, and I'm on a separate layer of the same instrument, but it's just a separate track. Right? So they're able to be, it's modular, and any layer can be replaced. If I don't like this bass, I could just double click the bass part. And again, go anywhere I wanted to in any library, any patch that I've made, whether it's a favorite patch for one of my other plugins, Serum, I could say init. I could go down here and I could say, swap this out with favorite instruments. I think Phase Plant's here, which has got some really cool basses. So we could go over here to the browse and like find some sort of like a cool hollow bass or punch bass. So I've replaced the bass sound with phase plant. So it's able to be used in all sorts of cool ways inside of your sequencer with the knob automation, all that kind of stuff. I could go back here. Since this latch is still on, I could go up here to the phrase. Recorded all of that. So when I play it back, filter cut off. Pulse. It just plays back everything that any knob you move, it's going to record. The key, make sure that you set this back to read when you're done doing any automation recording. Otherwise, if you're just controlling volumes and so forth, and you're not thinking about it, you're still recording automation if this is set to latch. So make sure you turn that off if you do such things. And again, just like that, we have taken one of the phrases, we've put phase plant into it, we've got Spitfire Labs into it. That's how come it's so modular and why Unify is so fun and liberating, because all of your plugins and all the sounds of those plugins can be used together. So I hope that gives you some ideas of how to use this, how to use the automation inside of your sequencer. If you use Unify inside of your DAW, there's all sorts of cool ways to use it. So anyway, enjoy. This is a fun library. It's because it's so many cool phrases and variations and all that kind of stuff. So enjoy, and we'll see you soon.